I'm Jo Klink, the co-leader of the Aviation Club, and today I have with me Bob Carden, who is the project manager for Greenland Expedition Society, and he is going to be speaking about Glacier Girl. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Jo.
And
appreciate it.
can you tell us a little bit about what Glacier Girl is?
Well, first of all, Glacier Girl is a World War II P-38. It was a fighter called the Lightning. And this plane was part of a group of airplanes that were being flown to England to fight in the war. And there were 6 P-38s and 2 B-17s. When they were flying across Greenland, they got lost in bad weather, ran out of gas, and actually crash landed on the glacier. This is actually the largest forced landing in Air Force history through today.
Wow.
There were 6 P-38s and 2 B-17 bombers that crash landed there on the glacier. 11 days later, the men were rescued and the airplanes were abandoned there. Now, I was the project manager for a group called the Greenland Expedition Society, and we put together an expedition in 1992, and we went to Greenland and recovered this one airplane from 268 feet inside the glacier.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about what a P-38 is.
Well, the P-38 Lightning was a World War II fighter designed by Kelly Johnson. It was manufactured by Lockheed in Burbank, California. During its full production, they made 10,038 of them. It was the only American fighter that was in production before, during, and after World War II.
Tell us a little bit about the recovery effort and what it was involved.
The recovery of the airplane, I was the manager for the 13th expedition, so there was 12 in front of us. And through the years, lessons were learned on how to do this. We put together our expedition in 60 days. We came up with our concept of the operation. We designed and manufactured our equipment, put it all together, put it on a truck, shipped it to McGuire Air Force Base, and off to the glacier we went. We got on the ice cap on the 6th of May, and we left on the 22nd of August with one complete airplane.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about how you managed to recover it.
The technique that we used was first, it was developed through the years. In 1983, they first used radar to locate the airplanes. In 1989, they first used a melting probe to actually touch the airplane and attempt to melt down to an airplane. So using those techniques, the radar to find the airplane, probe down to touch the airplane, and then a giant 4-foot diameter heated cone was used, and we nicknamed it the Gopher, to actually melt a 4-foot shaft straight down on top of the airplane.
So the plane was underneath 268 feet of ice.
268 feet. When it landed on the glacier, obviously it was on the surface. And through the years, average annual accumulation of 7 feet took place. So the 50 years from the day they landed till when we went, the accumulated snow was 268 feet. We had to make a room around it, or a cave, all right, and that we used hot water. We sprayed it on all the ice and melted it. So now we have a room that's, you know, about 50 feet one way and 100 feet the other way, so we could take the airplane apart the same way the factory put it together. And we brought it up in 7 major pieces. The largest piece weighed 7,000 pounds.
Wow, that's a real piece of history, isn't it?
Major piece of history. Matter of fact, it's the only World War II airplane flying today that has its from the factory original engines and propellers.
My goodness. What do you do, now that you have it restored, what do you do with it? Where does it reside?
It belongs to a gentleman in San Antonio, a guy named Rod Lewis, who has a very nice, large collection of World War II airplanes. And we bring it out to air shows around the country. As a matter of fact, last May, we were at Sun and Fun in Lakeland.
Great.
With the airplane. Next year we'll do Oshkosh. We do EAA one year either in Wisconsin or Florida. We just flip-flop back and forth.
Bob, tell us what prepared you to be the project manager for this recovery. What was your background?
Well, believe it or not, I didn't have much of a background in aviation archaeology, if you want to call it that. I was a military officer for 20 years in the Army. And the Greenland Expedition Society was looking for somebody that had experience in managing people under stressful environments, and I'm very mechanical. And all of those things combined, they asked me to do the job, and I went and did it, and it was a blast. We saved about 80% of the airplane.
Really?
Yes, 80%. So that other 20% we had to fabricate.
Amazing.
We had all of the drawings of the airplane. We got those from the Smithsonian. So we had the tools to do the job.
Wow. And you must have been very creative and stick to it.
Yeah, well, every day you had to go do
Every
it.
day,
Yeah,
right.
And,
Well, Bob,
you had to think outside the box, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that it was a wonderful joy the day that the plane actually flew.
Yeah.
When you got it all finished.
We restored the airplane in Middlesboro, Kentucky, which is a meteorite crater.
Wow.
And it's only 5 miles across. It has an airport right in the middle of it. And through the years, a lot of people came to watch us restore the airplane because that took 10 years.
Wow.
On the day we flew the airplane, 20,000 people, in addition to the residents of Middlesboro, were there to watch us fly.
Oh.
So it's quite exciting.
They were very excited, I'm sure.
It was quite exciting.
Well, I can't imagine how you would have felt to see that plane get off the ground.
I was
That's
very
great.
happy,
Yeah.
very relieved. I was actually more relieved when it landed.
Bob, why did the pilots have to land those airplanes on the glacier in Greenland? Why couldn't they land at an airport?
After they took off from the airport of departure, which was on the west coast of Greenland, the plan was to fly across Greenland, land in Reykjavik, Iceland, get fuel, and continue on to England.
So, and the reason being that they didn't have the long-range capability.
All the way into England.
Okay, we were trying to...
we were repositioning the airplane to fight in the war.
Okay,
right?
we were trying to...
And this is called Operation Bolero.
Okay.
So they refueled on the west coast at a place called Sonderstrom. Back then it was BW-8. And then they were to fly across Greenland and land in Reykjavik, get gas, and continue on. Well, when they got about halfway across Greenland, they ran into bad weather and had to fly into the clouds. And then, since there are no navigational aids back then, they lost their ability to navigate. Well, the winds weren't as forecasted, and they were blown off course. So after they called for landing instructions at their first intended point of landing, and they were told that the airport was closed because of ice fog, they had to go to the alternate. That was closed, and eventually they were able to orient themselves on the east coast of Greenland, where there was no airports.
I see.
So they were almost out of gas. They'd been airborne for almost 8 hours, so they made the decision to land on a glacier.
Oh. You know, those of us who are pilots know the feeling of getting low on fuel and needing to land, but we have the luxury usually of having airports nearby.
Yeah, nav aids.
The nav aids to be able to reach that point. The P-38s didn't have those navigational equipment
No
that
equipment
we have today.
and no airports. They had absolutely nothing.
And not the range to make.
Well, they had
Europe.
range. They had 8 hours of fuel on board. They could have easily made Reykjavik if they wouldn't have got
If
lost.
they wouldn't have been in the clouds.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, so that was
Well,
their problem.
This is going to be a really exciting meeting,
Oh, yeah, sure
and
will.
so thank you for coming. And we welcome you to come to the Aviation Club. It will be on October the 25th at 1:15 in the Social Center. And we welcome everybody to come. I think you'll really enjoy it.